Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get latest notifications.
Assalamu alaikum dear students, hope all of you are fine. Moving to the another part of the chapter, that is evolution. Evolution simply means how simple form of life changed to the present day complex form of life. But before going to the actual concept of evolution, we will first go through some basic aspects regarding origin of solar system and origin of life. From your physics, you know that actually the origin of universe is from a theory called as Big Bang theory. According to this theory, it's believed that before 15 billion years ago, there was a thermonuclear explosion of a dense entity. There was a simply thermonuclear explosion of a dense entity, which we call as Big Bang theory, that gave rise to simply the present day form of the universe. Actually, there was a sphere-like structure in which there was very high temperature as well as pressure, and when further temperature and pressure rise, there was simply an explosion, and that explosion of simply cosmic material, nebulae, cosmic material which we call as nebulae, gave rise to the different groups of stars, and these groups of stars we call as galaxies. One of the galaxy is Akash Ganga or Milky Way, in which our sun as well as our solar system is simply present, because sun is also a star. Sun is present in one of the galaxies called as the Milky Way or Akash Ganga. You will see there is not only presence of one galaxy, Akash Ganga or Milky Way, there are a number of galaxies present in the universe, and these galaxies are moving apart from each other at the speed of light, That means actually there was first formation of galaxies, and one of the galaxies which were formed was the Milky Way and Akash Ganga. How? Because of that Big Bang. Which occurred in that giant entity which was in the form of sphere. Then what happens after that? When there was a formation of galaxies, Akash Ganga was formed, then there was about 4.5 billion years ago, not million, it's billion. 4.5 billion years ago, there was formation of solar system. What happened at that time? It's believed that as this dust, cosmic dust, it was just in the form of cloud. Cosmic dust which simply came out from that nuclear explosion. This cosmic dust was then simply revolving in the universe. As this cosmic cloud dust condensed, the rotational movement through a ring of cloud. As this cloud, cosmic dust cloud condensed, the rotational movement through a ring of cloud which kept on rotating around the central mass. When this cosmic dust simply spread in the universe, it was in the form of cloud, and there was also a central mass in it. And when this cloud condensed, the rotational movement through a ring of cloud which kept on rotating around a central mass. Then the whole matter condensed simply under the force of its own gravity. It was not the force of gravity due to earth. No, that time it was simply the force of gravity that is due to the same cloud. Same, I am saying that the whole matter condensed under the force of its own gravity to become a flattened spinning disk of atoms and dust particles. When this whole matter condensed under the force of its own gravity, it simply became a flattened spinning disk like structure of atoms and particles, and this formed finally sun. This spinning disk like structure made up of atoms and dust particles finally gave rise to the Sun. The central mass condensed further and further and finally gave rise to the Sun. And after that it's believed that as the Sun condensed further and further, it became hotter and brighter. It became hotter and brighter. How? Simply due to the conversion of gravitational energy into heat. The gravitational energy present in this Sun due to atoms and dust particles, it's believed that it became hotter and brighter due to conversion of its gravitational energy into heat. And finally there was the formation of Sun. After that what happened? Again it's believed, we are not sure because at that time there was no life. It's believed from the evidences that this is actually happened like this. Then further what happened? Atoms and dust particles simply orbiting around the central mass aggregated into clumps. Now Sun has been formed. After that what happened? Atoms and dust particles which were orbiting around this central mass, that is the Sun, aggregated into clumps. And these clumps then further swept and grew up into the size of planets. What happened? When there was the formation of Sun, then there was simply same atoms and dust particles that were orbiting around this central mass. They aggregated into clumps. These clumps further grow in size and they simply formed the planets, present day planets. This is how solar system originated at that time according to Big Bang theory. But what actually happened? What is actually the total scenario at that time? We can't be sure about that because that time there was no life, and it's wholly and solely physics. How it actually happened, it's a physical concept that comes from the one of the basic sciences, that is physics. Here we got just an idea that how solar system got originated. Fine. Then what happened when there was the formation of solar system? There was also simply formation of our planet, which is called as Earth. There was formation of 3 layers of Earth, but first there was formation of lithosphere and atmosphere. Hydrosphere was formed, but only when there was simply fall in the temperature of Earth below 100 degrees Celsius. Because when there will be the fall of temperature below 100 degrees Celsius, then only water can be in the form of liquid form. Because at 100 degrees Celsius, water is usually in the form of gas. So first lithosphere formed, after that atmosphere formed, and then after a certain time gap, there was formation of hydrosphere when the temperature of Earth fallen down below 100 degrees Celsius. This is how Earth originated. When there was the origin of Earth, then there was the simply beginning of life. Now how life originated on this Earth? There are different theories which are simply given regarding the origin of life. Different theories were put by different scientists for the origin of life. Like the first one was theory of special creation. Theory of special creation. According to this theory, it's believed that life has been originated on Earth due to some supernatural powers, due to some divine powers which we can't visualize, which is not in our hands. There are some supernatural powers or what we call as divine powers which simply originated the life on Earth. According to this belief, in Hindu mythology, it's believed that Lord Brahma had a wish for life, and he simply created life in the form of 2 individuals, that is Manu and Shraddha. Then the rest form of life simply were descends from these 2 human individuals, that is Manu and Shraddha. Same from Christian mythology, it's believed that God simply created whole universe and whole forms of life in 6 natural days. At very first day there was creation of one form of life, and another day there was creation of another form of life, and finally there was creation of plants, other forms of life, and lastly there was creation of two human individuals, Adam and Eve. This was again wish of the God according to Christian mythology. This is how theory of special creation put forward its concept that life originated from the supernatural powers, that is divine powers, in which there are the beliefs that according to Hindu mythology, first human individuals which were created by Lord Brahma were Manu and Shraddha, and from Christian mythology it's the Eve and Adam, from which human race has been descended then afterwards. But according to scientific concept, there was no evidence regarding this theory and it was discarded. Same after that there was another theory put forward which is called as theory of spontaneous generation. Theory of spontaneous generation. According to this theory, it's believed that life has been originated from non-living things spontaneously. Spontaneously. It was believed that life simply originated from non-living things spontaneously. Like examples were given that there is simply growth of flies from rotten meat, or snakes, frogs simply reproduce, simply grow from the moist clay, mud. But this theory was again discarded when Louis Pasteur in 1862 proved experimentally that simply microorganisms originate from pre-existing microorganisms. Louis Pasteur simply proved experimentally in 1862 that microorganisms exist from pre-existing microorganisms, and this theory was then discarded. This is not responsible for the origin of life on earth. And then there was another theory put forward which we call as interplanetary theory or cosmozoic theory. Interplanetary theory or cosmozoic theory. Even this is also called as theory of panspermia. This is also called as theory of panspermia. According to this theory, what happens, life could have originated once or several times. This theory simply believes that life has originated either once or it has originated several times, and not only on earth but other heavenly bodies in the universe where life has originated several times. And it's believed according to this theory that the life on earth has originated simply when there was spores or seeds simply spread on earth from some other heavenly body from the space. It is like there is simply fall of spores or seeds from other heavenly body on the earth, and these resistant spores and seeds then gave rise to the present day forms of life. But again this theory was not having any scientific proof. This was again discarded. Then afterwards there was a theory called as theory of chemical origin of life or abiogenesis. The theory of chemical origin of life or abiogenesis. This theory was put forward by Oparin and Haldane. Oparin is one scientist and Haldane is another scientist. Both of them independently put forward their views regarding the origin of life. Oparin put forward his views in 1923 and Haldane put forward his views in 1929. According to this theory, which is also called as Oparin and Haldane theory, it's believed that life has originated from non-living things at the very beginning, and then afterwards life has simply originated from previous forms of life, which means there was abiogenesis first and biogenesis ever since. Abiogenesis first and biogenesis ever since, which simply means that at the very beginning, at the start, there was origin of life from non-living things, and when there was the origin of basic forms of life, after that all other forms of life originated from pre-existing form of life, starting from that basic form of life. According to Haldane and Oparin, they believed that when there was the origin of life, at that time Earth consisted of some of the gases in the atmosphere, but there was no presence of oxygen on Earth at that time. That means atmosphere on Earth was reducing. It was not oxidizing. There was no presence of oxygen on Earth at that time. There was some of the gases, like there was presence of methane, ammonia, hydrogen. Water was present in the form of water vapors, and there was also presence of carbon dioxide. All these gases were simply present in the atmosphere of Earth at that time, but water was present as gaseous form in the water vapors. These were simple inorganic substances present at that time on the Earth. Then what happened? These simple inorganic compounds simply go through the different chemical reactions, and when they go through different chemical reactions, they give rise to the simple organic compounds. I repeat, on Earth at the time there was simply presence of some gases like methane, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, ammonia, and water in the form of water vapor. These were simple inorganic substances. These simple inorganic substances simply combined through different chemical reactions and get bound to each other and gave rise to simple organic compounds, or I can say simply small biomolecules like sugars, fatty acids, simple nitrogen bases, glycerol, or other small biomolecules. And the energy required for these chemical reactions was provided by the nature in the form of lightning, volcanic eruptions, etc. That means there was simple chemical reactions going through these inorganic compounds at that time on the Earth, and the energy required for these chemical reactions was provided by nature itself, either through volcanic eruptions or lightning. And when there was the chemical reaction in these compounds, they gave rise to the simply small biomolecules in the form of fatty acids, glycerol, sugars, amino acids, nitrogen bases, etc. Then after that, what happened? According to Haldane and Oparin, there was simply again simple chemical reactions or bonding between these small biomolecules so that they will aggregate into large biomolecules. There was simply mutual bonding, mutual attachment between these molecules, like sugars mutually bonded with each other and they can give rise to the large biomolecules, carbohydrates. Same amino acids simply got combined with each other, forms aggregated, and they can give rise to the polypeptide, or which we call as protein. Again, the energy needed for these aggregating biomolecules to form large biomolecules, that was again provided by the nature. That means simple organic compounds simply combined in the form that they give rise to the large biomolecules, which are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and nucleic acids. And if we see, the cell is actually formed of these biomolecules. Then when there was the formation of these large biomolecules, they simply rearranged themselves. They simply reorganized in a particular manner, which finally gave rise to a form, and that form was called as cell. This was according to the theory which we call as chemical origin of life, or theory of abiogenesis, or Oparin and Haldane theory. This is the modern theory which is accepted for the origin of life. It's not like that it was accepted normally, no. This theory was proved scientifically, experimentally. This theory was proved experimentally that yes, there would have been simple chemical reactions at that time like this, and finally gave rise to the small biomolecules, which in turn gave rise to the large biomolecules. This was regarding how life originated on Earth. Further, we will see in the future lectures. Till then, stay safe, stay good. Thank you.